Me and my husband were driving one night. I remember it well, as it was snowing heavily. We were driving through the snow, and it seemed to be getting heavier and heavier. I remember my husband saying, "Hey sweetie, this snow is getting heavier and heavier." With that suddenly there was a screech, and the car skidded on black ice. The car toppled over, but luckily we both survived. We didn't even have to be hospitalized. A week later I was looking through getaway breaks, and I thought it a good idea to me and my husband leave our town for a week and go to stay in a cabin in the woods out in Utah. We drove there in a new car that my husband bought because he needed a car to drive to work 2 miles from where we live. We were driving out to the woods for what seemed like days, but in reality was only hours. When we got there, we were in awe of how beautiful the cabin looked, with the trees surrounding it. It was just a beautiful sight. My husband stopped the car and turned off the engine. When we got out, he said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "No. What is it?" He smiled and he said, "Absolutely beautiful silence." That night we had decided to go for a walk in the woods. My husband heard it first. There were footsteps behind us, but when we turned around, there was nothing. We walked on, then suddenly I heard it this time. When we turned around, there was a person dressed in black, wearing a hoodie. I screamed, and my husband said, "What the hell are you following us for?" There was a man's voice. "Let's play a game called The Hunt. It's kind of like a game of hide and seek on steroids, or maybe hide and seek on acid. I will give you a head start." Ben was relaxing watching TV when he decided to scroll through his phone and was shocked when he saw photos of himself posing with what looked like a dead body in his room. He scrolled through some more photos of him, smiling near a dead body. He not only didn't remember any of these photos being taken, but the only dead body he ever saw was of his grandfather years ago. He froze in shock and didn't know what to do. Suddenly he heard a siren outside his house, and there was a knock at the door. He answered to 2 police officers. 5 minutes later, they arrested Ben in his bedroom where the body that was in the photograph was taken. Ben was in shock, trying to explain to the police officers he didn't kill anyone and he didn't know how those photos were taken, and said they must have been photoshopped. A week later, experts analysed them and were confident the photos weren't doctored in any way. When Ben was in prison, he tried to comprehend what happened. 100 miles away, Jake, his twin brother, that he never knew he had, was writing in his diary, "Finally I got my own back on my twin brother, who didn't even know I existed. He had it all, a big house, parents, and a great upbringing, while I was bouncing from foster parents to foster parents, and most of them were drunk." Finally, Ben couldn't take it anymore and hung himself in his cell. At that exact moment, Jake felt a moment of peace and calm. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Megan was looking through her laptop for some place to live in New York. She knew that it would be very expensive, but she had to move for her new job. She was surprised, shocked and delighted when she saw that there seemed to be an apartment for rent very near where she was going to work. There were no photos of it, but she had to take a look, so that's exactly what she did. When she arrived at the apartment, there was a man opened the door and said to her, "Hello, you must be Megan. My name is Andrew. Well, welcome to the apartment. You can have this for $4,500 a month." She couldn't believe what he just said, so she asked him did he mean $4,500, and he said yes. When she looked inside the apartment, she couldn't believe the size of it for being in central New York and so reasonable. Megan was a pickpocket by choice. She didn't need the money, but she loved the thrill of it. She knew there were people who were kleptomaniacs, but she didn't consider herself one. She preferred to look at it as a cheap thrill. She was down the road from her apartment in a really nice clothes shop and stole a beautiful dress for $1,300. She was buzzing walking down the street, but by the time she got back to her apartment, the buzz was gone. After a few weeks, Megan got to know Andrew. She went to his apartment, which was just across from hers, and they were drinking wine. She noticed that she saw all his apartment, every room bar one, and when she asked about it, Andrew told her that it was his mom who was sick and he was looking after her, and he preferred her not to be disturbed. One night Megan walked into Andrew's apartment and the TV was on. He was asleep on the sofa, and there was this weird horror on the TV with a girl hanging from a ceiling. She coughed a little to wake Andrew. Andrew woke up with a start and put the TV off and said, "Sorry, I was just watching some horror." Megan moved closer and went to kiss him and sneaked the keys from his pocket. She was really determined to see what was in that room. She said to Andrew, "Hey, I'm exhausted, could I just chill out here? But if you could grab a really nice bottle of wine I have in my fridge, I would really appreciate it so much." When Andrew left for her apartment, she quickly tried all the keys until she got the right one and opened the door. She didn't want to wake his mom, but she had to have a look as it all seemed very strange. She froze in horror when what she saw was a woman hanging from a wall. It looked familiar when it finally hit her that it wasn't a horror movie on Andrew's TV. He was watching a live feed of what was happening in this room, and he had a girl tied up hanging from the ceiling with blades on the floor underneath. She heard a noise and turned around to see Andrew holding a knife, and he said, "Don't you know it's very bad to snoop around behind people's backs?" Then Andrew stabbed Megan until she bled to death. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content.